I'm doing. It's hard for me to see many of you on video, so please do not hesitate to just unmute your mic and say, hey, Jennifer, because that's probably going to be the best way without me having anyone else facilitating the meeting with me to know if you need me. Sometimes we use the chat feature to do that, but me trying to track chat and watch you guys on video and train does not work very well for one person to do. So maybe Mark can keep his eye on the chat just in case anything lands there. But otherwise, just, don't hesitate to unmute and stop me if you have a question or want me to show you something different. So the first thing that I've been tasked with doing today is sharing with you Virtual Job Shadow. As Mark mentioned, 2 years ago now, it's been the Nevada Department of Education Office of Inclusive Education, which is where I work. I'm one of your secondary transition contacts there. I do secondary transition, all things related to students with high incidence disabilities, so that 95 to 97% of the students we serve that have more mild to moderate disabilities. That's where my background, where my teaching background lies and where my background at the department lies. And then since April, I actually have become the Office of Inclusive Education contact for all things digital learning in Nevada. So we created a Nevada Digital Learning Collaborative out of the Nevada Department of Ed. We have hired about 100 digital engineers, which are educators and administrators from all across the state, including folks from state public charter schools, who are helping us build out content, pre-K through 12 content in Canvas the next 2 years. They're helping us populate all of the resources that they are building onto our new nevadadigitalearning.org website. And so we have a whole lot of stuff to offer. I don't have time to go through all of it today, but I think I'm going to give you enough information that you can either ask me to come back again to share more, or that you'll have the tools you need to go looking yourself if you don't want to wait to have me come back to kind of go further. So the first thing I've been tasked with doing is showing you Virtual Job Shadow. As I mentioned, every single student with an IEP in the state that is in 9th grade or higher, so all the way through either 12th grade graduation or staying until they reach maximum age and age out of our system. So we pay for the accounts for the students, and then all of the adults come free. So that means you get to decide at your school sites who you want to have access to Virtual Job Shadow. Who will be those people? Will it be special educators? Will it be counselors? Will it be administrators? It matters not to me one way or the other. I put into Virtual Job Shadow the folks that you tell me from your sites should be in Virtual Job Shadow each year. And so Mark and I just went through the process of doing that for all of your school sites just in August. And so you guys should all be current. Throughout the course of your school year, if you have new teachers or counselors or administrators come or go, it's as simple as shooting me an email. I basically need to know the person's first name, last name, email address, and then what permissions within the system they should have. Teachers get what are called staff permissions. So teachers have the ability to add and remove student accounts. And then people that you want to be administrators of Virtual Job Shadow, those folks not only have the ability to add and remove students, but they also have the ability to add and remove adults. I just ask that if you want to add and remove adults from Virtual Job Shadow on your own, that's fine. You just need to shoot me an email to let me know that you're doing it, because I also have what's called the Virtual Job Shadow listserv, where I roll out information about the program and how to use it and what's available in it. And if I don't know someone has been added to Virtual Job Shadow, then they don't get onto that listserv and they miss out on valuable information for how to use the program. So I'm going to just walk you through this. So when you come to Virtual Job Shadow, log in, this is where you're going to land. For you guys, you would start typing in state public, charter schools. And as you'll see, it starts to populate. So the people who are on the state public charter schools overall listserv are going to be your education programs professional at the state public charter schools. That would be Sarah Jorgensen, Lisa Zerbecki, I think is how you pronounce it. Mark is in here, and others. Then for those of you who are at school sites, you would be housed under the license for your individual school site. So the way you guys would log in, I'm going to just pick one that I know is a, let's go all the way down to Somerset because I work with you all quite a bit. So if you were at Somerset Sky Point, you would just select your school from the list, and then you would put in your email address, your school email address. And the way that Mark and I have set up all of your accounts, when you first log in, Your password is simply everything in your email address before the @ symbol. So for mine, if my email is jskane@doe.nv.gov, then my password would just be JSKANE. So that should get you guys all in now. If you're in a position where you're on your computer and you can just go to Virtual Job Shadow login and select your school or organization like I just showed you and type in. If you want, you can just follow along in Virtual Job Shadow with me as we do the training today. If you are not in the position to do that, don't worry about it. It's really very user-friendly, both for the students and the adults for the system, which is part of the reason we selected it. And so I don't think you'll have any trouble just following along and kind of seeing what I'm doing if you don't want to try to also follow along in your own Virtual Job Shadow account. So for today, my login is through the Nevada Department of Education. So this is where I'm going to enter, which looks a little different than yours. I'm the Nevada Super Administrator for the program out of our office. So I basically, while you will have access to the students at the schools where you work, I have access to all the kids in the whole state. So that's why mine looks a little different than yours, but that's fine. So when you come and land on Virtual Job Shadow on the home page, you will see welcome back, or welcome if it's the first time, and your name here. They always do one highlighted job shadow. Today it's photographer. The last time I did this training a couple weeks ago, it was some kind of a chocolatier and there was just dripping chocolate here. And I was like very distracted during training. So at least this photographer is distracting me slightly less, but what a cool shot that is. So I am going to start. I hate doing live training videos and then just playing videos for you, but I really think it's short, it's 6 minutes, and it's right here under tutorials, which is gonna be directly on this page where you land when you enter under kind of this welcome and the first video. You have this tutorials section. The one I'm gonna show you today is right here. It's the Virtual Job Shadow features overview, and each one tells you how long it is, which is really nice because you can see what you're committing to before you click on it. So I'm gonna play the 6-minute video. It's gonna give you it does a beautiful job in 6 minutes of kind of showing you everything the platform has to offer. Then I'm gonna highlight a couple of other things that I think will be important for you to know about. And then after that, I'm gonna open it up and let you guys tell me which of the features you saw in the overview you would like me to show you in more depth. I really want your interests to guide what we do today. So what I will say is this: we'll watch the 6-minute one today, which gives you a really nice kind of like overview of everything it has to offer. If you have more time on your own and what we talk about today piques your interest, I really highly encourage you on your own to watch the complete customer training video right next door here, which is about 45 minutes long. We didn't have that much time today that I don't want to make you sit with me and watch a 45-minute video, but it really does go more in depth into kind of each of these main features that the 6-minute video shows. So I think in order for you to hear the most clearly, you're all going to want to mute yourselves, and then I will leave my mute off and you should be able to see and hear the video. But if you can't, go ahead and let me know right away.
Hello, welcome to the virtualjobshadow.com staff guide to user activities.
Can you all hear? A little bit. I'm going to turn it up. One sec. This is the beauty and the magic of technology, right? Turn that one up, and I'm going to turn the one on my computer all the way up. Let's try this again. I'm probably going to blow you out of the water now.
This overview
Is that better? Still can't hear it well? Okay, so I've got both Virtual Job Shadows volume all the way up and mine. So now try your computer volume if you're not hearing it clearly. Crank yours up as high as it'll go. And we'll try this one more second again here.
This time it seems to have gone away.
Okay, so I am going to give this one more shot, and if it doesn't work, then I will just do the features overview for you myself, okay? So everybody put yourselves on mute. And then I've not presented on Zoom before. We use different platforms at the department, so your guess is as good as mine. I'm going to try this once more. No? Okay. Okay, so on our platform, when I did this for Clark County, it worked beautifully. So my apologies, we used GoToMeeting last time.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Yeah, when you adjusted the volume is when I lost it. I was getting it at first, but then when you changed all the volume settings, that's when it kicked out for me.
I'm going to click out and
That's it.
okay, so we will just abort that mission and we will do this differently. This drives me nuts because every platform has different settings, and when I'm not on my own platform, it's really difficult. Speakers, headphones, all the way up. Okay, so we'll just go through each of the things that they would have told you in the video. You guys all have access to that video and you can watch it on your own to see what you missed by me not being able to play it today. But I'm just gonna walk you kind of through each of the areas. So for me, one of the first things that sold me on Virtual Job Shadow is so many of the teachers I work with when I go out and train folks in secondary transition across the state talk about the need for age-appropriate transition assessments that are easy to administer, that the kids will willingly take, that you can get good results from to actually use in transition planning. And so one of the features of Virtual Job Shadow has age-appropriate transition assessments. As you will see, literally every day when I log on to Virtual Job Shadow, they're super responsive to building things out that the field tells them they need. So as you guys begin using this, if there are things that you would like to have added, don't hesitate to ask me because I can put the request in through them. As you will see here, they've now got the age-appropriate transition assessments in Spanish. That was not there. Even 2 weeks ago when I did this training, I did not see this flag when I opened this. So it's awesome that they are constantly building. So the first one is the Career Clusters Interest Survey. This is the longer version of this. It's super easy for students to take because it just asks them about their interests, and then it gives them a chart of like a kind of a down face of like, no, this is not something I would like to do, more of like a neutral or yes, this is something that really aligns to my interests. This one, the Career Cluster Interest Survey EZ, it is a shorter version with a lower reading level. So if you have students who have a lower reading level or need additional support or just aren't going to be able to sit through the full version, this Career Cluster Interest Survey EZ would be the way to go. Then if you aren't familiar with it, the ONET Interest Profiler is a really good survey that helps them find out interests and how their interests kind of relate to the world of work and various jobs. And then finally, you have the ONET Work Importance Locator. This one is a little bit different because it really helps them learn about their work values. Like what kinds of things do they value, and how would that, hopefully, how would you be able to find a job that aligned with your values? So the cool thing is once you assign an assessment to the student and you have them go in and take it, you then using the reports function, you have the ability to go in and pull the report. You can look at things like their assessment results. And then as we go through the rest of these today, you'll hear me talk about career journals, flex lessons, pop quizzes, resume building. And then the other ones at the bottom are just how much time, like if you're doing distance or blended learning and you want to say to your kids, I want you to spend 20 minutes today. I want you to, pick 2 career cluster or career videos to watch that align to the clusters from your assessments. I want you to watch them and read the accompanying material. You can go on and check the user overview to see how many minutes the student spent in Virtual Job Shadow, to see how many videos they watched, and also to see how many profiles of the different careers they actually viewed and read. So it's really cool as a teacher to have all of these options especially during distance learning. But the assessment results is what you're going to want to pull because you'll use those in the present levels page for your age appropriate transition assessments. You'll be able to grab the date that the assessment was taken there. You'll be able to grab the results of the assessments to put in. So in column 1 of that present levels, you'll be able to put the date, which one of those 4 assessments they took. Then in the middle column, you'll be able to talk about the results of the assessment. And then in the 3rd column of that present levels page, you'll be able to use those results to plan for the student now and moving into the future. So this is a great way during distance and blended learning for your case managers to provide age-appropriate transition assessments and use those results in IEP development and transition planning for students to meet those requirements. As I'm sure you are all highly aware, OSEP, the Office of Special Ed Programs at the federal level, has not waived anything of IDEA requirements to students during the pandemic. So we are all expected to still do everything we always have for students with disabilities. And so this is a tool to help you do that. We bought it because of everything else I'm about to show you, which I think is great for students and educators and accomplishes many of those secondary transition requirements. But now that we're in a distance learning environment, it also gives us the advantage of being able to send assignments to our kids virtually and then be able to look at the assignments from our end and the assessment results and such. So to me, as a former case manager and teacher, the first thing I would be doing in this would be having my kids take an assessment and then looking at those assessment results using reports. Those would be 2 of the things I'd be doing. Then once the students take those, they will also get their results in addition to you getting their results, and they're going to use those to actually use Virtual Job Shadow for the tool that it is. So Career Central is really kind of the heart of Virtual Job Shadow. When we go here into Career Central, if they've taken an assessment, it's going to align them to, and you can filter these by all different ways. Right now, when you just pull it up, it's going to show you the featured job shadow videos. But if the student has their assessment results, you can look at them by cluster. So let's say the student took an assessment and their cluster came out that they really would be great working in architecture and construction. Then they can come in here and they can go through and they can start looking at architecture and construction job shadow videos. The cool thing about it is, as they watch these, I'm just going to randomly pick, let's see, let's do a carpenter framer just for fun. I'm not going to play the video because we know it might not work for you all to hear it. Oops, sorry. But what I want to show you is, in addition to the video that is played here, over across the side, it has career. Sorry, did someone say something? Okay, I think, I thought I heard someone. All right, so in addition to the video that they'll be able to watch, they also have question and answers down below. They have the career description for this job, which is just all the duties that that person would perform. What would a day in the life of that person look like? What happens for illness and injuries? Which days of the week would they be working? Then it also tells you about any required education. Are you going to have to go on and do post-secondary education or training or an apprenticeship, or what exactly would it look like for you to get into this field and get this kind of a job? And what would your advancement opportunities be? What are the important qualities that you would need to have to bring to this career choice? I love this one. It talks about earnings. You know, what are your annual wages versus hourly wages? It even, it's automatically set to Nevada for all of our kids, but if they want, they can switch which state they're looking at this information from. And right now, the way it's set for our kids, it shows you Nevada versus kind of the rest of the country. So you will see we have a lot of construction jobs. And in fact, many of our construction jobs here pay more than they do across the rest of the nation. And they can go and compare to another state if their family's thinking about moving to California or Utah or whatever. They have the option to go and look at that. So again, that is the earnings information. I think future outlook is super important, because no matter how much you love something and want to get post-secondary education or training and get into that field, if there aren't jobs available once you get out there, then, you know, that's going to be a path that you have chosen to take to potentially end up with no job or career. So I think it's really important that they come and look at the future outlook of those jobs. The rest of these are just any additional links to other things that are related to that job that might be of interest. And then you come down into the college search, and it tells you in my state of Nevada which schools have the programs that I would need to participate in order for this career choice, which again is the carpenter or framer. It talks about jobs and internships available. You can do a local job search. And then if you go through all that information and you watch the video and you think, I like that field, but I don't necessarily want to be a carpenter or framer, I'd like to look at kind of more jobs within that field, then you can go down to related careers, and it takes you back to that broader kind of career cluster that we started at in the beginning when I just, picked framer or carpenter. It takes you back to that broader career cluster. So as you can see, there's a rich amount of information that lives here in Career Central. The next two on the list are my careers and my playlist. So they made this super friendly and almost social media-like. Down here for each one, let's say the student, watches the video and really liked it. They can just give it a heart to add it into their careers, to like keep in their own personal set of things that they've researched that they liked well enough that they want to be able to go back to it. Or they can click the plus button and it adds it to their playlist. And then from the student account, they can come in, and if they're not searching new careers that day, if they're going back and reviewing some that they selected, my careers would be everything that they had clicked the heart button on and added to their careers, and playlist would be everything that they clicked the plus on and added to their playlist. So kids can customize this on their own. And then every time I come on here, there's new stuff. We got a huge request from the field for life skills videos, and this has been built out largely since last winter. They started putting things here, and now they're up to 155 videos, all related to life skills. This, if you just land on the page, it's going to take you to all 155. But if you're looking for something specific, you can go down and just search by the categories. So there's academics and majors. And if you click on that one, it's going to just take you to the 7 videos that are specific to that. Career clusters. I love this one, the Disability Spotlight, that talks about empowering people, having empathy, and defining yourself as an individual with a disability. Obviously, diversity and learning about diversity in schools is been brought to the forefront recently, and so they have been responding to that need by creating some diversity lessons. Every single student I know, whether they have a disability or not, could benefit from financial literacy instruction, and there are 18 beautiful videos here related to that. Many of our kids in distance learning are struggling with health and fitness when it's been 115 plus degrees out this summer, and now it starts to cool off and there's smoke. So the health and fitness ones are a lot of fun, and you can use those with kids. The things we typically think about, job preparation, social emotional skills is another one. We're worried about kids' social emotional health during distance learning, and so there's some beautiful videos and things in here. And soft skills are always, those of us who work with kids with disabilities are always thinking and talking with them about soft skills on the job. So as you can see, if you use Virtual Job Shadow for nothing else other than coming in and having your students log in and assigning them to watch some of these videos, you can, and I'll show you in a minute how you can assign so that they can do free choice. You could say your life skills lesson today is to go in, click on careers, click on life skills videos, and click on Disability Spotlight. Pick one of the 3 videos to watch, so you could give them some, personal choice if you wanted to, and then you could have them submit an assignment about the video. One super easy ones to do are like a 3-2-1. What are 3 things you learned? What are 2 things? What are 3 new things you learned? What are 2 things that you already knew and had confirmed? And what is 1 thing you still have a question about? Just those little simple things are really easy ways to do that. And I'll show you a lot bigger lessons you can do than that. But if you don't want, I know we have Canvas, we have Discovery Ed, we have all these platforms and all these resources. And if you don't want to build anything else out in Virtual Job Shadow, you don't have to. You can just come in, tell the kids what to do, have them do it, and submit assignments to you. You can build it all out here related to the content if you want, and I'll show you how to do that too. I'm going to pause
Jennifer,
if anyone has questions because I see movement.
I have a question. On that disability spotlight, do you anticipate them like having all of the disabilities eventually in there?
I can shoot Elizabeth Mercurio, who is our account manager for Nevada, an email when we get off this call and say, hey, I took everybody in, I showed them these awesome life skills videos. We got a request for you to create additional disability spotlights with more, and I can give her a list because disability is not her background. So I can say, here are the disability categories. Would it be possible for you to create more disability spotlights, one at least for each disability category? And I will guarantee you that they will do that. Like, they have like people who make their videos and people who do all this, and they're professionals. And so I would assume that it would not be a problem at all to make that request. So I will be happy to do that.
Yeah, that would be great, because I think it would be really good if the kids could go in and have something that they can, or see somebody that they can relate to that might help them, because part of transition is being able to identify your disability, and being able to advocate for yourself, saying, I have a learning disability, so I need this, this, and this. And I'm assuming the videos kind of go along those lines and help them identify with each other or with another person.
Absolutely. I'm also thinking, Kim, you know my heart, and for those of you who don't know, one of my passion projects I do out of the Nevada Office of Inclusive Education is we do a Nevada Student Leadership Transition Summit, and we work with schools across the state, bringing young adult mentors in to work with high school students who are the young adult facilitators or mentors are individuals who've navigated the Nevada school system themselves and are now young adults who have transitioned successfully. So I'm actually going to tell Elizabeth when I send her this email that if she would like me to give her some contacts of potentially people to videotape, I have 28 young adult facilitators of varying disabilities that would be awesome to highlight. Some of them are in post-secondary education and training. Some of them are through that and are out in the world of work now. I have one who just got accepted at NYU into their online speech therapy program to become a speech pathologist. That's the one that works at Somerset Academy Sky Point. Angel just got accepted into that speech path program online through NYU. So we have amazing young adults right here in our state that could be featured in these videos. So I'm gonna throw that pitch in to see if she needs some folks to connect with. So great, keep throwing things out at me. I will ask them anything. They don't often tell us no, because we've bought, thousands of virtual job shadow accounts for students in Nevada. So they try and give us what we need when we ask for it. Okay, I gotta keep an eye on the time. I think we have until 12:15. So I'll keep going, but do not hesitate to stop me because this is your training. I'm just here to, help you learn what you need. So I think we've done a pretty good job so far of going through the careers tab. You know that Career Central is kind of the heart of things. As kids like with the heart or plus, it adds careers into their careers or their playlist. And then I showed you all these wonderful life skills videos, 155 of them that are broken out by various topics. So the next thing we go to is colleges. So there are different functions under this. They can just do a straight up colleges search. If they have an idea, if they want to go to a 2-year college or 4-year, or they just want something that's less than 2 years to get them the little bit of training they need to get out into the world of work. So they can search by that. They can look into everything from certificates through doctorates, what kind of degree they're interested in. Do they want to stay in Nevada, or are they really interested in looking at surrounding states or going somewhere completely different? If they have a pretty good idea of what major it is that they want to look into, they can, keep kind of the rest of this wide open and just search by construction trades, for example, and pull a whole bunch of results. Test scores, a lot of our kids, especially the younger ones that are like 9th and 10th graders, aren't going to have their ACT scores yet, but if they are older and have those back, end of junior year, senior year, they'd be able to even sort by what scores you have to get into various colleges. And then always an important one, looking at what the tuition is. So they can just do a straight up like from scratch college search, but I usually like to help them focus a little bit more than that, especially those 15 and 16-year-olds, because that's just like way too broad for them. So you can have them take the age appropriate transition assessment, go to their career cluster, pick one or two of those to research, and you'll remember in that information was a whole section on what post-secondary education and training would be required for that job, so that you can kind of reverse kind of come into this instead of leaving it so wide open, which is nice too. Again, if they have a college that they really like and they select it, they can click that heart button, and that's going to drop it right into their My Colleges, so they can come back and know that that's one that they're seriously considering. And again, this is all flexible. So if the student starts at 15 using virtual job shadow, as they reach 16, 17, 18 and get closer and closer to graduating, you know, they can unclick those hearts and those pluses to take things off their list that they're ruling out. So, and then this last function, which is pretty cool, allows you to compare colleges. So you can click, you know, UNR and UNLV and click compare colleges, and then it'll show you the difference in tuition, the difference in programs available. Do both have on-campus living or not? So that colleges, compare colleges button is a lot of fun. And again, I typically see more students using this information as they get closer to graduation and are really narrowing things down, but they can use it anytime. It's available to everyone.
Never heard from them.
So I can hear somebody talking, and if it's for us, please speak up so we can hear your question. And if not, please mute.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. And the next one is jobs. So again, my jobs would be for the ones that they liked and they tagged. They'll be able to come straight back to my jobs and pull those up. This board is kind of interesting. It's a work-based learning board. You can manage posts, and you can post things up there on the work-based learning opportunities for students in your community, such as internships, jobs, and other work-based learning posts. It's kind of like a board is what that is. Oops. And then there's an internship search. So if they are looking for a specific kind of training or internship, if they wanted to do construction in Las Vegas, they can put in, you know, construction internship Las Vegas and click search, and that is a tool for them to do that. And then finally, they also can just do a straight up job search if they're looking for a specific job that they'd like to have now or in the future. So those are the jobs tools. Okay, so now I'm going to take you into this. This is a little bit more. We've already shown you the assessments. I'm sure I'm not in order of the 6-minute video. So when you guys have the opportunity and watch that, you're going to be like, this is not the order Jennifer showed us in. But in my teacher and case manager mind, this is the order that really made sense to me. So you have a resume builder. You literally could have your kids use no other part of virtual job shadow and just come in here to develop resumes if you wanted to. So you click on new resume to begin, and then you click on the question marks for helpful hints. And once it's complete, they can save their resume, hit the download button, and export it to their own computer. So eventually when they graduate and they no longer have access to virtual job shadow, they have a way to still have that resume that they've developed and changed over time right on their own computer, which is great. The next one I'll talk to you about is their post-secondary plan. So again, you know, we're talking about transition planning in the IEP, and this is really their place to house their post-secondary plan if you want it to be. So it says, formalize your post-secondary education plan by selecting your top schools and career choices, establishing your post-secondary plan. You are on your way to discovering your career path. So this is another way for them to keep track of kind of all of the different careers, colleges, jobs, and things that they have highlighted. They can add the ones that kind of come to the top from that searching into their plan. So there's the education piece that talks about what level of post-secondary education and training, if any, do they want to attain, or are they gonna, you know, is their plan to really stop at their high school diploma and go into the military or go straight to work? So that has, and for a lot of kids, they don't even know that like all of these are options that are available. So this is a great way to start having conversations about what education beyond high school is out there and what are they, and you can even start here if they're like, I am so ready to be done with school, I would be willing to do an apprenticeship or a 2-year degree, but I don't want to do more school than that, then they can just check those and they can look for careers and things that only require that amount of post-secondary education and training. So it's really customizable per student. As they do all their searching, they can narrow down their top 3 school choices and add them in. their top 3 career choices and add them in, and they can save their plan. Once you've saved a plan, you can always go back in and change things as things change. So you could certainly do this with your kids when they were 15 or 16, and then revisit it annually as they go through school and their wants and needs and vision for the future change. So we've done assessments, resume builder, post-secondary plans. So this is a nice little piece called goal setting. As you know, in IEPs, we have our short-term goals, those annual goals that we look at those benchmarks on. So this is a really nice way for the student to capture what their personal goals are. And there's absolutely nothing that would prevent you from taking those short-term personal goals and making them part of the IEP. And then those longer-term goals for those post-secondary goals that are also part of the IEP once the student is 15 and older. You know, these are the longer-term future goals. Like, what am I going to do now, today, and in the next year so that I have the skills I need to be successful in whatever that future is that I'm shooting for? So those are kind of the tools. And then the last part, I'm going to spend just a little bit of time on, and then I'll open it up at the end, and you guys I can take you into anything in more depth. You can ask questions. But I wanted to just run you through the admin functions. So when Mark had me, Mark and team had me add all of you, you have been added with different permissions. If you want to know what those are, both Mark and I can access that information and show you. But all of you at the very least are staff, and then some of you may be also administrators. As I mentioned before, staff means basically a teacher. You have the ability to do everything I've shown you here, and then you can also add students into Virtual Job Shadow. If you are an admin within Virtual Job Shadow, it doesn't mean like a building level administrator or site level administrator. All it means is, in addition to having access to everything here and adding and deleting students, you also have permissions to add and delete adults within the program. So for example, I know Mark is somebody that has those permissions because he helps me add and delete folks as there's turnover at schools. So I'm going to just walk you kind of through each of these and show you real briefly, and then I'll turn it over to you and you can tell me if there's anything you have questions on or want to see in more depth. So manage users is where I live in August and September, because you all are telling me across the field, across the state, hey, these are the teachers who have left since last year. Here are the new teachers. Here's somebody who got married and her name and email address has been revised. And I get all of that. For you guys, I get it from Mark. And then we go into the system and make the changes. So this is where I would come in if I want to look at who the students are that are enrolled. I'm going to pick one of your schools here. State public charter schools. I'll use SkyPoint just because I know you guys. Oops. So users are going to be students, and staff and administrators are going to be adults. So you can select just to view the kids at the school, just to view the adults at the school, or you can select this one and then you'd view everyone who's at the school. For student privacy rights, we're going to just look at the staff, the adults, because then we aren't looking at student information. So as you can see, there are some people in the state public charter schools, Somerset Academy, SkyPoint, who are teachers there. Ashley Adams, for example, looks like she's a teacher there. Then you'll see within this also my colleague at the Department of Ed, CJ Fields, he's a super administrator in Virtual Job Shadow like I am, so he has access to every student in the state and every high school license in the state. So this is where you come to see, and Connie obviously is an administrator out at Somerset SkyPoint. And then Daphne De Leon, I mentioned to you earlier, we bought this in collaboration with Vocational Rehabilitation. And Daphne De Leon she's a super administrator from Vocational Rehabilitation. She provides and coordinates pre-employment transition services through vocational rehabilitation for the entire state. So those of us with the state agencies have, access to do the work for the entire state. But that's what it looks like. It's a super easy process. If you needed to search for somebody specific, you could put in their username, which is typically their email address, or their first or last name, and you could search for one individual. To add an account, which I'm going to show you in just a second, you literally just click the add account button. Like, some of this stuff is super, super simple. If you want to bulk upload like a whole class of students at one time, then you can use the bulk upload function. The other nice features down here, if like for an entire school, they were like, all of our kids can't remember their passwords, can you just reset everybody at our school's password to ABC123, and then we'll individually go back in and reset everybody? You can And I'm seeing this from my super administrator view, so I don't know if I would have to do it or Mark, or if one of you could, but you can bulk change passwords. And then like when Mark gives me a school and 3 teachers have left, I just click on this bulk delete button, which opens a box, and I can go through and, you know, select 3 people and delete them all at once. So that saves a lot of time. So that's kind of nice. The export button is super cool. Anytime you export out of Nevada Sears, you're going to get a Excel spreadsheet populated with the information that you wanted to export. So you'll see that button on it almost every page when you're in the admin functions. I'm going to quickly walk through other ones, and then I'll come back and show you how to add a student, because I don't want to like not get to something in our time together today. We already briefly talked about reports. So again, you have different reports that you can pull if you want to just look at a student's assessment results, what they're doing in their career journal. I have not taken you through flex lessons yet, so that's coming as is pop quiz. But if you wanted to see where the student was in developing their resume, like how far they've gotten with that, how much time they've spent, and if you pick total usage, you can like specify custom dates. So I want to see from last Sunday through today how much time this student has spent in virtual job shadow. Are they putting the time in that they're being required to put in? And you could search by just that. For those of you that were part of the virtual job shadow listserv last year, I actually did this each month, and as I would roll out another email, I would like highlight who the #1 teacher user was in Nevada and who the top 3 schools were that were using it with students. So that's what I did. I just came in and set my custom dates for the previous month, and then pulled up the report of who had been in there and what they were doing, and was able to highlight the people that were doing a great job using virtual job shadow. So that is reports and all the different things available. When you assign assignments and things and you want to be able to grade and look at where kids are, you also have the ability to do reports by individual student instead of by large group. And you would do that by coming down and just searching for individual students. Or if you like put your whole class in and I put in like Miss Kane's class, and I made Miss Kane's class a group, then I would be able to export by my Miss Kane group and see all of my kids in one report in my class. So those are all awesome functions. Again, all of this information on that landing page in Virtual Job Shadow, there are individual video tutorials, and there's one for each of these things, like how do you do reports? And you can literally like play the video, it has you do a step, you stop the video, and you do that step in Virtual Job Shadow. Start playing the video again, it tells you what to do next, stop the video, do it. So they really have done a good job of creating step by step, showing you what to click on to get the results that you want, and putting those all in like short. Some of the videos are like 1.5 minutes long, like how to add a student is like, I think 90 seconds or something. So it's pretty cool. Groups, again, if you have created groups, then you would be in here a lot using this function. If you have, 5 different classes, you would create a group for each of your classes if you want to have them separated and be able to assign and report out on different things that they're doing. Flex lessons. So this is the one I talked about. What we are all looking for, it seems, in classrooms right now is already developed content that is good stuff that we can use with kids. So I'm going to skip the part where you build your own, which is the lesson builder, and I'm going to take you to the already built lessons so you can just see what lives in here. It's taking a minute to load, but here they are. So these are all pre-created lessons that are available through Virtual Job Shadow, and I think my internet connection is struggling because it didn't load them properly. Here we go. A minute ago it said like, oh, I looked at the wrong place. Okay. I thought it all said there were 0 assignments, and I was like, that's not right. There's like some that have 6 and 14. But anyway, so these are already developed assignments that you can literally go in here and click on assign, and then click on your Miss Kane group, and you can assign that assignment to a whole class. You can clone it and make changes to it if the reading level is too high or there's Nevada specific information that you want to add. Then you can do a preview to make sure it looks and acts like you want it to. And then you can ultimately export it if you're using Canvas or another platform and you're like, I don't want to make them come into Virtual Job Shadow. I just want to be able to take this and use it where they're already located. You can also export stuff and move it to your other platform if you choose to do that. But I just wanted to show you some of the different things. There's everything from understanding flexibility and working through COVID-19, which are kind of some new ones that have been added. But there's basic things on collaboration, citizenship, communication, and critical thinking. And you'll notice there are 11 separate activities specific to creative thinking. So it's not just one of each of these. In many cases, you have a whole bunch. Understanding failure, problem solving, understanding patience, having a growth mindset, understanding grit, job seeking skills and resumes. So you guys can go through and look through all those. But like if you're going to have them work on short-term and long-term goals, why wouldn't you come in and do some goal setting lessons? There are 7 of them ready to go right now for you and your kids. So the flex lessons are awesome. I personally, if I were in a classroom right now, would be looking at these and pulling already developed ones for use with kids. But you do have, again, there's a whole video on how to do it, but you do have the ability to build your own lessons and assign them to kids within Virtual Job Shadow as well, if you want to do that. The playlist builder, I think this is not one I'm all that familiar with, but this is where if you clicked on the pluses, I think your videos go into playlists and then you can create your own playlist for how you want them. Again, that might be something fun for a teacher to do if you're using it in your classroom, or for the students themselves to do as they are career searching. This one is local links. Again, I believe if you have an event announcement or useful website that you just want to add so all your students have access to it, this is kind of like the work-based learning board that we talked about, the WBL board, where it's your board and you can go and post stuff and then send kids there to find it. And we already did that one. And then the last one is curriculum. And again, just like they have all those already developed lessons, they also have all these. Mini lessons are a series of short instructor-led lessons on critical topics that will help prepare your students for careers in college. And then they also have this whole section of geo-inquiries, which are short standards-based inquiry activities for teaching map-based concepts found in commonly used textbooks. So there's, in addition to like the flex lessons, there's also actual curriculum in the form of mini lessons and geo-inquiries in here. So what took me just like 45 minutes, that 6-minute features overview would have done with a little bit less depth for you. So if you still want to go back and watch that, I apologize that we had that technical difficulty, but that is there. So I'm going to stop because we've only got a little bit of time left. Is there anything in particular someone would like me to go into with more depth in Virtual Job Shadow? And if not, I'll show you guys how to, a couple ways to add students.
I don't know if you need to show me this or just let me know. When you export lessons, because I don't know how exporting works, then is it easy to put it, because we're using Google Classroom for like our lessons, will it be really easy for the teachers to put that in Google Classroom using that export button?
So this is one of those questions where I, as someone who works at the State Department that doesn't have a classroom with kids to actually use this with, is going to refer you to who knows that answer. So anytime you're anywhere, literally anywhere in Virtual Job Shadow, and you want to get back to that main homepage, you're just going to click on this big Virtual Job Shadow in the left-hand corner, which brings you back to home. Under the tutorials, today I talked about the features overview and the more complete customer training video that goes more in depth, but they have videos you can scroll across. See, there's 4 pages worth of videos. There's how to build flex lessons from scratch, assigning the lessons, managing them, creating groups. When I talked about like if you wanted to create a separate group for each class so you could group assign assignments and things. I'm just going through these to see if there's one that specifically answers your question, and if not, I will put you in touch with Elizabeth who can answer that question. This is about editing accounts and changing your password. So I told you guys, everybody is set up with your work email, and the kids, when you put them in, it will be the kids' email is their username, and then everything before the @ symbol in that email address is the password. So this talks about if you want to go in and change passwords for your kids so they're not all that, you have the ability to do that. You just watch this 2-minute and 31-second video and it'll show you how. If you want to go in and change your own password right away so that it's not just the beginning of your email, in 1 minute and 23 seconds, they walk you through and show you how to do that. And that last video is on Resume Builder. So there's one more place I'm going to check to see if I can find the answer. So we're on the main landing page of Virtual Job Shadow when you log in. Tutorials is where you're going to always look first to see if there's a short video that shows you how to do something you're interested in. And then down here, These are the admin resources. And so these are things that I have found super helpful when I've had a question and I'm like, I don't really want to go to Elizabeth with it. I'd rather try and figure it out because I'm learning my way through virtual job shadow. So there's a staff guide to user activities. This is super cool. I looked at this in a little bit of detail last night, but it's showing you, again, the things we talked about, that dashboard that we've been working from all day, careers, colleges, jobs. It goes into the tools with a little bit more, flex lessons. I don't see that it talks about exporting stuff in that one, so we're gonna go back. There's a getting started guide. Like if you're like, oh my gosh, Jennifer just told us a lot of information really quickly, this will take you and give you a little bit more in writing to refer to instead of having to remember all the things that I said, but it gives you like this step-by-step. Getting started is a simple 3-step process. You're gonna create a lesson, publish a lesson, and assign a lesson. After that, you can manage your lessons, you know, so it's giving you kind of those step-by-step pieces. Again, I'm not saying that export piece. So what I can tell you is this, what I export regularly are reports. And when I export the reports, it pops it out into an Excel spreadsheet. And so I've never tried to export one of the lessons out and use it somewhere else. So we'll ask Elizabeth Mercurio, and I'll get back to you. The other couple of things that are down here that I wanted to show you guys is there are posters that you can print when you are back in school if you want to put them up in your rooms. There's one that's specific to school and one that's specific to workforce, so I'll just show you what they look like. But did you know that your organization has access to hundreds of career videos? And it's just kind of like to help get the kids interested and motivated to check out Virtual Job Shadow. And then maybe it's in here. So the flex lessons, there's user guides and frequently asked questions. And this is very, very detailed. Like it tells you what page to go to create, publish, and assign one, managing them, exporting right here, page 10. So editing, adding users, exporting. To export your list of assignments as an Excel spreadsheet, click on the gray export button that appears behind the blue add users button. So maybe it's not, maybe I'm incorrect and it's not that easy to export them for use elsewhere. But I will ask Elizabeth, because if it can be done, she will know and they will have done it. So I will share that with you. And then they also have the flex lessons frequently asked questions, which I thought were really helpful. Like the very first one I read last night is this: what's the difference between a lesson and an assignment? Because there's Virtual Job Shadow has its own kind of language. What do I do if I publish a lesson and then realize there was a mistake in it? How do you go back and like fix it? Accidentally deleted my lessons. Is there a way to recover it? So I do not see your specific question in there. So I will shoot Elizabeth, and in addition to our email asking about adding more disability categories to those videos to highlight, I will ask her that as well. Anybody else have a specific question or questions?
I have a quick one. Being that, I'm at Pinecrest, Slum Canyon, when would you recommend, or does anyone else have any experience of when to pull these kids to go ahead and just, like do the career surveys or the assessments? Is there a time that you do it, or I'm at a loss. We got 8 periods a day, 30-minute classes, and I'm not sure how we'll be able to pull them to do this, other than to assign it as a homework assignment, and I don't want to do that.
That's a great question for the people on the ground doing the work.
We would probably do it, like if we're preparing for an IEP meeting, we most likely would have the kids do it because we're bringing kids on campus to do the KTEA testing.
Mm-hmm.
We'd probably do it then.
Okay.
To start with,
same time?
Probably.
Right after the test, or
Yeah.
schedule a different time?
We'd probably do it right after the test.
Okay.
We try to hit them all at once while they're here.
Right.
It's not ideal, but parents often don't want to bring them back several times. So that would probably be a way. That's probably how we would start, or what teachers would do until they're able to get it off the ground a little better.
Okay. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Okay, hearing no other questions so far, just, hop on if you change your mind. I will show you guys how to add a student. So if you want to just add one student, everything you do with adding and deleting people lives under admin, under manage users. So I showed you before, I'm going to keep us on adults, which is the staff administrators, just to protect student privacy. But I showed you already the bulk delete. So like a perfect thing to do in June after school is closed and your kids are gone would be to come in here. In your case, you would search by users only. So it would pull up only student accounts. I'm not going to do that for student privacy today, but you would come down here and you would click the bulk delete button. Remember that opens up all these boxes, and any student, see where it says grade? For students, when you enter a student, you're going to put in 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, or 12th grade. So if you wanted to delete out all of your exiting seniors at the end of the school year, you would just click on bulk delete. You would come down here, anybody, you can actually sort if you want by user role, and see it brings to the top. So it'd probably bring to the top 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, or you can sort it the opposite way from the end to the beginning if you wanted to bring your 12th graders to the top. In this case, it's doing it by alphabet. So super administrators came to the top, but you'd be able to go through and just click on all the boxes for the 12th graders and hit bulk delete, hit delete right here after you have selected bulk delete, and it would delete all your seniors out of the program. So it's super simple. Like they try to make it as simple for the end user as possible. When it comes to adding students, it's just the exact opposite thing. Instead of bulk deleting, you have a couple different ways you can do this. If you just have 1 or 2 students you want to add, the easiest way is to just add them by hand. So whether it's an adult or a student, if you're hand adding someone, you're just going to click on the add account button. You're going to have a little bit of information in front of you before you would go here to do this. You're going to need the person's first name, their last name, and you put their email address in. You're going to click this box that says send login information, because that, when you finish and you create the account, then Virtual Job Shadow will send the student or adult an email to the email address that you've put in here, and it's going to say, hey, you've had an account created for you within Virtual Job Shadow. Please click this link to validate that this is a real email address. And then once they do that, they're going to get their credentials that say, here's your username, which is their email address, and here's your password, which is that first part of the email before the @ symbol. So you want to always make sure that you click that, because that's how they're going to get their validation link and their username and password. Again, in our state, we have decided to keep the email also as the username, because it's very familiar and similar to other systems. And then just the beginning of the email up until the email address is the password. They have you put that information in a second time to verify that that is in fact the password. For main license, when I go in here, you see the entire state. If you're at one school location, you're only going to have, what was I using? I was using Sky Point, Somerset Sky Point. So if you're just a summer only assigned to that school, when you come in, that would be your only option to choose from. Again, it has a little note over here in case you forget, but users are students. Staff are typically teachers. They have the right to add and delete student accounts. An administrator within Virtual Job Shadow is typically, they put in school administrators or principals, but in many cases, like in Clark County and with you guys, you have a transition specialist that helps me add and delete all your staff. And so it's kind of like each person, one rung up the ladder, can do more things. So as a super administrator, I can add and delete users, staff, administrators, and super administrators, but that's over there. So if you're like, oh, what did Jennifer say? Kids are called again. And then you'd click on this and be like, oh, students or users, there we go. Or staff equals the teacher. And so you would select the correct role from the drop down. And then in my case, as a super administrator, I don't know if you guys see this, but I have every school in the state. So for example, if somebody needed to have, like Clark County transition specialists oftentimes serve more than one school. I know you guys have some facilitators that work across multiple schools. So those people, then I can go in and individually assign access to 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 schools. Or if it's somebody like Mark that works with all of your schools, then Mark would have access to all of them. So this allows us to differentiate who has what license. If it's a student, you're going to select what grade they're in. And then they like you to put just the general city and state, because it helps them kind of track where that usage will be generated from. So typically for us, this would be Las Vegas or Henderson, wherever your school is located. And then finally, I don't know why they don't put it at the bottom, because that's where you end up, but you just scroll back up to the top, and the last thing you're going to click is create account. Once you click create account, it's going to bring you back over to this, and you'd be able to then look and see, oh look, I was trying to add Daphne De Leon, and there she is now in the list for Somerset Academy Sky Point. So that's how you add one individual student, or if you just have a couple to add, teachers or students or whatever, it's all the same function. Adding an account, it's just what you select as if they're a user, a staff, or an administrator, and what you give them permissions to do. And then if you wanted to do, here we go, I'm already here. If you wanted to upload a whole class of kids at the same time, or like a whole school, if you just want to pull all 9 through 12 kids with IEPs at your school and upload them at one time, you're going to do a bulk upload. Again, let me just clarify, when you come to the landing page, everything you do with adding or deleting users all lives under admin, under manage users. When you click on bulk upload, the very first thing it's going to tell you is, did I not click on it? Oh, it's just my internet hates me right now. Come on. Okay, there we go. So the first step that you're going to make in doing a bulk upload is to click to download the spreadsheet template. So this is going to be the template that you'll use to populate in order to do your bulk upload. So as you can see, I usually, when I give these out, I go in here and I put like username, behind that I put password, or excuse me, email address. And for the password, I put everything in the email before the @ symbol. We don't offer it to the younger kids. We offer 9 through 12. So I usually like go through and update this a little bit. But you would just fill this in for all of the students. If this is a really nice way, if you wanted to group your kids by class, like you could have call, you know, it period 1, period 2, period 3, and assign your kids to your groups. That way, when it bulk uploads, it already puts them into those groups. So you have the ability to assign things, grade things, and send out assignments to them by class. Once you fill that all out, you'd come back in here and it talks about this. This gives you kind of the information for how to fill it out. And then you just send your completed spreadsheet to customer service. And within 1 business day, they have a 24-hour guarantee. They upload all your kids for you. So if you want to do it, you know, a mass amount of kids at one time, this is a really nice way to do it. For some schools, in Clark County School District specifically, they use single sign-on through Clever for their kids. So my daughter's a kindergartner, so I can tell you, she goes in and she logs on once with a little QR code on her Chromebook, and she's in for the day. And once she's logged into single sign-on, she can access Canvas, she can access Discovery Education, she can access her teacher's classroom, she can access like everything she needs. And so for students in schools that use single sign-on, Virtual Job Shadow just populates in their single sign-on screen as one of the things they have access to. For schools who aren't single sign-on, it's going to look the exact same for the students as it did for you guys. So they would start here, they would start typing in their school. And then they would, from here, they would pick which school they were at. I've been picking on some of you guys here. We'll do Matter East, they're new. So it would take you to Matter East, and then the student would type in their student email address, and then they would type in their password, which is everything before the @ symbol, and they would hit submit, and they would be able to access their Virtual Job Shadow landing page. So just like same as the teachers would. If you are a single sign-on school, I'll show it to you just so you guys can see the difference. And I'm telling you this because your IT, like you guys can decide at your school to become a single sign-on school. It has to do with permissions and allowing this to be part of single sign-on. If you're not using single sign-on anywhere else in your school, then you probably wouldn't want to do this. But, whoops. So I know for a fact that like Basic is a single sign-on school. So see, when they go in, instead of seeing like the place to put your username and password like we just saw, they actually click on either student or staff, and then it takes them through the single sign-on way to get in. So it just looks a little bit different. But that was it. I think we have 4 minutes left before folks from Academica have announcements and things for you. So does anybody besides the two that I'm going to email Elizabeth about that Kim has come up with, is there anything anybody else wants to ask or have me ask of Elizabeth to have added to the program? Okay, well, I did not put it on here, I don't think, because I didn't have PowerPoint slides, but my email address is J like Jennifer, S like my middle name Sue, and my last name Kane, K-A-N-E, J-S-K-A-N-E, the @ symbol, and then DOE for Department of Education, .NV for Nevada, .gov, G-O-V for government. So jskane@doe.nv.gov. I am much more user-friendly on email than I am on the phone because I don't work in my office right now. So emailing me is a great way to go because even when I'm on trainings and those kinds of things, you know, I always have my computer with me. So that's probably the fastest and easiest way to reach me. I'm happy to always answer any questions. You know, we paid for and provided this for every kid with an IEP in the state in grades 9 and above, and that's thousands of kids. And we have seen maybe 2,000 of 13,000 accounts get used. We're super hopeful this year with virtual and distance and blended learning that more people will get active and engaged with it, because I think people that, you know, have been in classrooms teaching kids in person for a long time are like, oh, I'll just, you know, use what I've always been using and haven't engaged with it. But I think there's a new incentive with distance learning for people to be looking at some of these things that are available to them. So we wouldn't have provided and paid for it if we didn't think it was a great tool for secondary transition that helped you all meet some of those requirements for IEPs as a case manager and for practice as teachers with kids. So I hope that this will give you enough of wetting your whistle that it'll make you want to go in there and look and really dig in and see. And I'm sure you'll have questions as that happens. I will be happy to answer them as I can and or refer you to Elizabeth, our wonderful partner on the East Coast from Striven Media, which is Virtual Job Shadow, for the ones I can't answer, like Kim's second one. So I will hand it back over to, I don't know if it's Rebecca or Mark or Nancy or who goes next, but thank you once again for allowing me to come and talk with you today.
Thank you, Jennifer. Okay, Mark, did you want me to jump in here? I'm going to jump in here. I would like to share my screen with you. This will be very brief. Here you go. Mark asked me to share with you where things are stored in SESS NV. I know he gave all of your names to Julie to make sure that you had access. So on your computer, go to SESS NV, and on the special education page, and this has always been a mystery to me in a number of ways, but there are 2 folders for transition resources. The first one is on the first part, at least on mine. It's called Transition Resources. And in there, I've divided it into two folders, one with brochures and brochures from Desert Regional Center. Okay. And those you can download, print, save, share, however you choose. Then there's one for the Bureau of Voc Rehab. And there are several things in there. One of them is in Spanish. That's helpful. Okay. And then there are some just simple information pieces about the disability resource centers at CSN, UNLV, Nevada State College. And then there's a brochure from Job Corps and something from Nevada. Okay, so that's where you can find your brochures and things that the kids would fill out or help them apply for services. However, there's another folder. Go on back. Okay, this is the first part. It says transition resources. And then on the next tab, there's one that's called transition. And this to me seems to be a collection of what I would call stuffage that you would use, perhaps not as useful as what we just saw on that wonderful website, but there are things here, a job shadow application, any requirements that might be in place, a list of transition assessments, Nevada Transition Resource Guide. Okay, so things that you can't find in the first folder, you might well find in the second folder. And I hope that I'll be able to get them in both places, so at some point we'll only have one. But that's a goal, not a final thing. Does anybody have any questions about SESS? Yahoo! Mark, are you there? Nope. All right, I think Mark left. Unless anybody has any questions or you feel a need to contact me or just chat,